Okay, this thing says we're live, so I trust it. We're live here on Facebook. Hello, everyone. I'm Uriah Kiser. I'm the founder and publisher of Potomac Local News. Thank you for tuning in to this Potomac Local Live podcast here on Facebook Live. Joining me today is Michael Goopser. Did I get that right? To pronounce Goopser? Goopser?
It's Goopser.
Goopser.
That's
Okay. My
yeah.
name's my name's Uriah. So I've been called Mariah Carey and all kinds of things. Trust me, I don't like to mispronounce people's names. Michael Goopser, who is the writer of the show we'll be talking about today. Esther Wells is the director of the show we'll be talking about today, and that show is Into the Sun, a new musical that is premiering in Vint Hill here in our area. Guys, thanks for coming on the Potomac Local News podcast to talk about the show today.
Thank you for
Of
having us.
course. Thank you.
So, Michael, you wrote this thing.
Yes.
Let's start with you.
Mhm.
Tell us about the story that you have brought to the stage.
Well, the story is based in World War I, and it's about a brother and a sister who enthusiastically enter the war in 1914, only to be confronted with, how terrible warfare is. And so they get disillusioned and ultimately end up joining the anti-war resistance toward the end of the war. So it follows this brother and sister and their friends as they go through this journey.
And what prompted you to write this? I mean, obviously, we're talking about something that happened more than 100 years ago. So
Right.
they always say, write what you know. I don't imagine that you were at World War One. So talk to me about what prompted this you're writing this.
Well, in a way, this is writing what I know. I mean, so I'm both a musician and a history professor, and I have taught European history at James Madison University in Virginia, and I've taught World War One many, many times. What really gave birth to this was a group of British war poets. There were a burst of poet soldiers who wrote a bunch of poems that they were killed in the war, but they wrote poems and they became quite famous in the English language. They're anthologized regularly in Britain. And I taught those poems many, many times in class. Throughout my adult life, I've played in a rock band. And so my bandmate and I, this is about 10 years ago, came up with this idea to write a show based on these poets that we both liked. He's Italian, and he grew up walking through World War I battlefields with his grandfather finding shell casings. I had spent years teaching these poets, and we knew we both liked him, and we decided that this would be the basis of the show. And one important point, when we started the show, it wasn't quite 100 years ago. In fact, the anniversary was coming up. So we thought, hey, we'll write this show and maybe we'll start sharing it around the anniversary, which ran, of course, from 2014 to 2018.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a very long time to write a show and a very long time to get attention to it. And so here we are after the anniversary.
Yeah,
Still
absolutely.
going.
Absolutely. Esther, you're the director of this show. Talk to me about how you got involved, how you met Michael, and what you've done to bring to life his play.
Well, I actually got involved through Matt Moore, who is the producer for the show. He's also the head of the Triune, which is the theater company that we were performing with. So he's the one who introduced me to Mike. And both of them sent me the script and the music, and Matt asked if I would direct this. And I took the time to read the script along and listen to the music at the same time. And I just fell in love with the story and the music. So I knew that this was a story that I wanted to help tell. And I'm very grateful that they gave me the opportunity to do this. So we've been working with a very small cast of 14. And we've just been trying to put the script onto the stage and do it in a way that is both respectful to Mike's script and to, military soldiers, everything in that vein. We want to do it accurately, but also portray it right.
So let me dive into that because I mean World War One, and we're not talking about light material here. This is very serious stuff,
Very.
and so you have to turn that into a show, and not only that, but a musical, and
Mhm.
and so not obviously I have not seen the show, and I'm just curious How do you we just saw To Kill a Mockingbird at the Riverside over the weekend. A very serious play, very serious show. There's not a stitch of there's not a note in that in that stage adaptation. And so again, with the serious subject matter such as World War One, how do you turn that into a musical?
I'll go ahead and speak to that. You've really hit on one of the most difficult things about a show like this, right? I mean, musicals are often associated with relatively lighter fare, although there have been, of course, very serious musicals that deal with tragic events. I mean, think of West Side Story, think Les Mis, right, which are very serious. And one of the most difficult things about conveying World War One is it's hard to do a happily ever after ending because everyone knows that World War II comes after it, right? I think the key for me and what I hope that audiences will take away is that they'll really fall for the characters, right? I mean, what that meant for me is that I had to really lean into the characters, and I think the characters are normal human beings who have strengths and flaws, but I hope that audiences find them very appealing. And indeed, there are moments of humor in it, just like in life, right? Like in very serious and tragic material, there are moments of levity, moments of lightness, moments of fun and joking. And I really try to sort of lean into those. It is a drama, but there are also elements of women working in munitions factories and bonding around that circumstance, which was a real life circumstance. Soldiers bonding and meeting with and even bonding with German soldiers in a lighthearted way. So the heaviness, which is there, is what I tried to do is break it up with sort of moments of lightness, and they're all built around the characters.
Is this a first run show that you're doing here in Vint Hill? Is this the first time it's been on stage?
It is the first time it's been fully performed off book, so not using script. It has had what are called presentations or staged readings before in New York at a Kennedy Center festival, but it has never been fully in costume off book before.
So no pressure when the show comes up June 6th and 7th, obviously. But, I want to dive into one point that you made there. There's not a happy ending to World War One because what comes inevitably 25 years later with World War II. You can go through, a matter of fact, we were just doing this last night. We were scrolling through our streaming catalog, and there are so many World War II movies. I mean, you can't even name them all, but they're just, but there are fewer by far World War One stories. And so was your hope to maybe, to shine a brighter light on this conflict that was just as equally as polarizing, but yet not as widely known or revered or celebrated sort of as the victory of World War II?
Oh, definitely. To me, and of course I'm a history professor, but to me, World War One is where the 20th century begins, right? No World War One, there's no World War Two. World War One prepares the way for all sorts of things, good and ill, that we associate with the modern world, right? I mean, this is where, of course, Lenin and Hitler get cut their spurs, but it's also for generations suffragettes had tried to get women the right to vote. World War One does it because they prove their economic worth in country after country after country. They get the right to vote after that. So the other thing about World War One is it's the lesser World War in the US because we were only in it for 1 year, right? Around the rest of the world, there were huge commemorations for the 100 years of the war. So I was also trying to kind of broaden the material of musical theater. We get a lot of sort of US stories and especially New York stories. And I like the idea of being able to tell a story from a non-American perspective.
Yeah. Where does this story take place?
Britain. Well, Britain and France. I mean, the war in France, but yes.
Okay.
British soldiers. Yep.
Fantastic. So Esther, talk about your background. I mean, you before we started, you were telling me you were a school teacher of 17 years. All praise to you. That's amazing. We're great for you to do that. Talk about your background and how you got into theater and how you landed this director role.
So funnily enough, I teach math. So nowhere near the theater world. But I have maybe 5 years into my teaching gig at the school that I'm at. I actually started dealing with the theater program after school because we didn't offer theater classes. But I've always been interested in theater. Growing up, I did like the little church musicals when I was in elementary school, and I've always loved theater, loved going to theater, watching theater, and then finally getting involved in theater myself. And one of my friends who is an art teacher at the school as well was hugely involved with community theater in the area, and so she kind of got me involved there in auditioning and working with theater in the community. And then we started or took over the theater program at our school. So I've been doing that for over 10 years, directing and being in charge there. And then I've been involved with theater in the community, multiple theaters around the area, both on stage and off stage, including FCT out there in Vint Hill. And I've known Matt for several years. I do improv with him on stage. And so he's known my theater background for a while, and he was just like, I want you to direct. So he just came up to me for this show and was just like, would you be interested in directing this show? And I was like, sure. So that's how we got involved with this one.
That's fantastic. Talk to me. Talk to me. So your show will run at the Journey Theater in Vint Hill, June 6th and 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about this venue for those like myself who have never been. Talk to me about this venue and why you chose to hold it here, and what people can look forward to when they come to see the show.
So Journey is actually a church, which has a theater stage. They've actually been trying to open up and do more theater related activities as well. And I know Triune has had several shows there already. So it's a venue that is well known to Triune, which is why we are there. So, I mean, you can expect, high quality theater, just like you would anywhere that you go see community theater. It's got a great stage. It's got a great atmosphere. And we plan on presenting this just like we would on any stage.
And can I add, and I think this is correct. It's also, I think this venue as well as there's a neighboring theater on this venue, was several decades ago a part of a military base. Is that?
Mm-hmm. It was an army base.
Right. It was an army base there, and it was turned over to various institutions. And that's not incidental to this, right? I mean, this is a story about soldiers, and this is a story about war. And I will say for myself, one of the things that I've really liked in working with Esther and in working with the actors in this group is just how dedicated they are to the themes, to the topics, to the process. I mean, one of our actors has said that she wants to dedicate the performance to her father, who was in the military. Another actor has come up who was in the military has come up and he's spoken to me. He's given me tips. This is a new work, right? So unlike, say, Sound of Music, which is frozen in place, you can't change. It's really useful for me when you have an actor who just the other night he said, I had a line that said the mortar screams, and he came over and he said, you know what, mortars don't scream. You only hear them when they after they hit. I wouldn't know that. So it's really, really been a kind of it's really been this valuable learning experience. And this, I mean, I've learned and I've appreciated the dedication as a result, right? When I was up in New York with equity actors and then with musical theater students at the Kennedy Center or at JMU when they did it, they didn't have this military background. So these actors are bringing something totally new that really informs the piece in a new way.
As we wrap up, I just, every time we go see a show, I go with my wife, and we always talk about, what we saw, and we just, we just break it down in terms of the impact it had on us, and what we loved, and maybe what we didn't, but what we always love live theater, no matter what we go see. When people have those conversations after they leave this performance, what do you think they'll be talking about? What do you think they'll be surprised about? And what do you want them to be talking about when they leave the theater?
Oh boy, Esther, for each of these questions, it was clear that either you were the one to answer, or I was the one to the answer. I don't know who should answer this.
I'll let
Go
you guys
ahead. If
think.
you have an answer for it, go ahead.
Okay, I think we both have to answer this because neither of us has an answer. Well, look, it is a show that is, I hope, I'm the writer, so I'm biased, but I think it's a powerful show. I hope people leave humming some of the songs. I hope the songs are really powerful and stick with you. It's not a feel good show, but I hope they leave having fallen in love with the characters, right? I mean, to me, it's the characters that should grab it, but also maybe thinking and talking about some of the themes.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one because I mean, listening to this music all the time at rehearsals, I have the song stuck in my head consistently all week long, and it's just they're catchy, but they're powerful. Our actors are doing an amazing job with the music and with the acting, just with everything. And I agree also with the themes, like what do people really believe that they need to fight for, and how are they going to do it? And I just it's such a it's such an important theme that I think that's another thing that they're going to be talking about after they've seen this show.
That's great. Well, I put the URL to get tickets. It's triuneentertainment.com / into the sun. Again, in June 6th and 7th, 2025 at the Journey Theater in Vint Hill, triuneentertainment.com into the sun. Go and see it. I'm glad you guys came on to talk to us today about the show, and congratulations about taking this from the Kennedy Center to Vint Hill for its first full-fledged production showing here. I think people are
It's
really
world
excited about
premiere.
it. Yeah,
The world premiere.
And we're excited.
yeah, we should be. This is great. This is great local theater, and guys, go out and support this, please, because we need more of this in our community, more of the arts, and more of original stories like this. And it's a pleasure. It's awesome that you guys are doing this right in our backyard, where we can say it premiered here.
And it's also, I really appreciate it because I live locally, so it's like a local show developed locally and coming back home. So that's
fantastic. Well, we got to support it. So go out and get tickets and go see it, guys. And thank you all for watching the Potomac Local News Podcast right here on Facebook Live. Please go to our website for more local news and recap of this show if you missed it live. We'll have coverage of this show and, of course, the day's other news at potomaclocalnews.com. And don't forget to sign up for our free email newsletter. It goes out every day, sometimes twice a day, with all the local news you need to keep up with what's happening in Woodbridge, in Manassas, and in Fredericksburg. Get it for free at potomaclocalnews.com. Have a great day.